There's a mass amount of content on YouTube about how to break your social media addictions once and for all, which is kind of funny because the moment that you've clicked on a video like that, hoping that you'll finally get the cure for your doom scrolling habits, you've just been distracted again. While these videos can hold a lot of valuable steps for how to start making changes in your social media consumption, the biggest issue I see with many of them is that the first steps that a lot of them all suggest are pretty drastic for first step. Deleting all the apps off your phone, building a brand new daily meditation habit to combat your twitching mind from the allure of all those new Instagram cat posts. Yeah, these things can help, but only if you actually get around to building them as new habits for the long run, amongst the bad habits that you already have and that you want to break out of. A big issue with steps like these is that they don't account for the times when you actually want to use social media consciously for messaging and consuming content that can genuinely be beneficial to your life. Whether that's because of some knowledge that you're going to gain by consuming that piece of media, or just to help, chill you out when you just need that little bit of chilling. How do you manage moments like this when we're gonna have to go through 10 steps just to re-download these apps to actually use them in a healthy way? From my experiments in trying to combat social media distractions, one of the crucial first steps we all need to reach is noticing your unconscious desires of wanting to open up that app or web page and transforming this unconscious activity into a conscious one. Yeah, you can fail way more with this method and just give in to the temptations of watching that random video that was on your feed, but I genuinely believe that in the long run, it's the best approach to patiently develop a healthy relationship around your social media usage, turning you from a mindless slave to the social media gods into a responsible consumer who chooses when and when not to be distracted. So let's walk through 7 practical steps I've found that'll help break your social media addiction when you should be getting productivity stuff done. Starting with my favorite app, OneSec. Going cold turkey with an app by straight up deleting it has never really worked for me. Whenever the time would come for me to want to use the app again, the effort of having to go ahead and re-download and log in would just add another level of frustration that would make me not want to have to delete it again, especially if I was often using an app for genuine research or messaging with friends. I personally think it's better to have something that reduces the friction of you wanting to open up an app without removing the problem outright, which is why OneSec has been my favorite implementation of this ethos. Upon opening up your social media app of choice, OneSec forces an animation on you that you can skip once it's done. If you swipe away, it'll literally force close the window, so you have to sit through it if you're genuine about your desires to use it. Once the animation is done, it'll ask again if you still want to use the app. Once you say yes, then it'll prompt you for a reason why you're about to be using this app. You can set this up as either a clickable option or so you literally have to type in exactly what you're about to do. Again, the beauty of this is that it's not preventing you from using an app. You could even hack it and just put your phone down on your desk while you wait for the animation to happen and do something else before then picking it back up to use it. But the beauty of OneSec is that you've now become conscious of what you were about to do. You've been forced to think about the step you're about to take when the app opens up in front of your face, which either does 2 things for me. Either it'll make me realize I've just hit the app unconsciously as a stress reliever, which prompts me to then close it and get back to work. Or I still go ahead and open it, but with my reason for why clearly at the front of my consciousness, helping me to naturally notice if I begin to overstay my welcome by doom scrolling longer than I should be. And even if you're worried about that potentially not working, you can set up a second intervention after a set amount of time based on the intention that you originally set for yourself. So if you do get lost in this doom scrolling mode, it'll pop up with another window asking if you really still need to be using this app right now. And then you can either say, yeah, I want to continue, or you can be like, yeah, I'm doom scrolling. I shouldn't be doing this. Close the app. Pretty cool, right? There's even more crazy customizable stuff that you can do, like getting it to increase the initial animation time with every occasion that you use the app, which further helps incentivize you to keep your daily open rate down. I've been using this app for a little over 2 months now, and after my first week with it, it really just clicked with my personal vibe for some reason, with the kind of relationships that I actually want to be building with my social media consumption. Just enough friction for me to think about how I'm spending my time on these sites without making it unbelievably annoying to bypass them when I want to reward myself or genuinely consume some useful content on these platforms. There's a free version of this app, but the paid pro version gives you a bunch more options in terms of customizability. It's also available on desktop too, which is a godsend for the distraction loopholes you'll find yourself getting into on YouTube. Sorry if that's that's this video distracting you. I've tried all kinds of apps for blocking websites, removing the main page feed for certain websites, having plugins that redirect you to completely other URLs instead of the one that you're always typing in when boredom starts to kick in. But this app is the best tool so far that seems to not only help me keep productive in moments when I need that aid, but also in building up a disassociation with the dopamine hits that we all get from our mindless social media usage. I got a tweet reply from the makers of this app saying that they're going to add a bunch more features to the desktop version, which is currently the main weak point that I have because it's not as feature rich as the mobile app version. So I'm super excited to see what they're going to be added into it next. Number 2 is do not disturb mode forever. When I used to work with my friend Alex in an office, I remember noticing how I'd barely hear a pinging notification sound coming from his phone when mine would be going off throughout the whole day. He used to get pretty pissed off with me for how annoying this was for him to hear and feel the vibration of my phone reverberating across his desk that was pushed against mine. So much so that he requested I do not disturb my phone when we're working together. This initially filled me with dread, visualizing all of the interesting messages that I'd miss out on if I couldn't see them, pinging onto my phone. How would I know when my girlfriend would message me with a funny gif? What about a message from one of our co-workers who works remotely? And eventually I gave it a try and hit that do not disturb button, sealing my fate into a life of bliss and ease. And I haven't yet gotten out of that since that very day 5 years ago. Well, that bliss and ease might be a bit of an over-exaggeration, but do not disturb mode forever has been my new normal, and the amount of focus time it must have saved me over the years is probably pretty mind-blowing. With this on, I check notifications on my terms, not whenever an app attempts to grab my attention away. It's not so much the alerts themselves that are the issue, it's the contents of them, or the potential contents of them being like giving me some negative emotions or feeling, or giving me more stress and therefore derailing my focus before I can get back into the zone again. If you're now thinking, but Adam, I'm gonna miss out on so much if I can't see the instantaneous moment when my friends message me. Honestly, I think this has only happened about once to me, where I missed a friend's DM invite to a last-minute sports bar trip that he was doing. But other than that, as long as I check my phone when I'm not in a focused 25-minute Pomodoro block, I can still keep track of all of the social going-ons in my friendship circle. Most things just aren't going to be urgent enough to not be able to wait another 20-30 minutes to pass whilst you're in the middle of your focus session. And if you really want to prep for the very rare instances when somebody desperately needs your attention, you can easily set on your phone to have certain people bypass this do not disturb mode so they can still get in touch with you in case of an emergency. But by making the conscious choice to check your notifications, not having them be spat randomly into your face, you feel more empowered and not held down by the allure of these quiet, catchy sonic branding pings. Spicy pings. Number 3 is a fresh environment. Wipe the slate clean. I was going for a phase of struggling to script YouTube videos at home. Editing a video here was pretty easily, but for some reason scripting was strangely hard for me to not end up procrastinating. I'd get stuck into watching random YouTube content, putting off the hard work of opening up Notion to start bullet pointing ideas. Until one day, I recalled how easy it was for me to work from my laptop in places like trains and my girlfriend's parents' house. What did those spots have that my own apartment was lacking, minus the delicious home-cooked Hungarian food? It was that these spots had very little memories of me killing time consuming YouTube content, with only having memories of me being productive attached to these environments. The same was true for coffee shops. Whenever I worked in them, the smell of the delicious coffee wafting through the air and seeing other people work on the laptops always guilt-tripped me every single time into doing work, when a part of me still desired having the distractions of looking at articles on IGN. So if you're ever feeling this wall of friction in getting started on any task, take your laptop to a coffee place and work from there. You'll be amazed at how that task you were once blocked with suddenly starts to feel unblocked. Being around other people on their laptops will also make you feel incredibly guilty for not doing productive things like they are. It's a constant visible reminder of what you should be doing with your time, hence why you quickly get back to your work upon noticing yourself procrastinating. Also, the smell of coffee shops with their caffeine and cake, the sense of these things wafting through the air is such a relaxing thing to be inhaling as you type away on whatever you're working on. Knowing there's a lovely reward waiting for me at the coffee place gives me an incentive to not try to replace this with an at-home coffee machine as much as I really want one. Sure, it costs money to buy a coffee or two each week versus staying inside your house. But the ROI on your focus time and output by doing this versus staying at home struggling away through the procrastination is totally worth that extra money. And probably most importantly, it just makes being focused and productive more enjoyable, leaving a good taste in your mouth to the point where you'll be excited about going to that coffee shop to do your focused work sessions each week. The ultimate hack is to do this alongside a friend so you can both leverage the social side of meeting each other and catching up for about 10-20 minutes before you both get your headphones on to do a focused 45-minute Pomodoro session. I've had this idea of doing some kind of virtual coffee co-work collab group on a weekly basis where no matter which country or city you might live in, we can all be working together on the same Pomodoro timer to keep each other accountable. So write below in the comments if that's something that you'd be interested in, and I'll consider getting this set up. Number 4 is time tracking with an app like Toggl. We often either under or overestimate how much time we actually spend on doing things. It's all well and good to be doing things like time blocking, but if you dedicate 2 hours to a task, how much of those 2 hours is actual focused work versus the small little distractions that you ended up getting into, like going to make a tea and, you know, like responding to that quick messenger message. Tracking your time gives you unquestionable evidence of what you spent your day doing. The guilt of seeing your timer tick away and you actually not doing any work versus just having a time block space in your calendar. For me, that time block isn't enough of a push to stay focused versus literally seeing numbers count up and down to a set amount. That means that if you reach that point, you will get a nice break. You will be rewarded with a bit of a chill. There are times when I'm so much in the flow that even when this 45-minute timer hits its limit, I can just carry on working because I'm already in the zone. But more times than not, once I hit this timer goal, it's a trigger for me to stand up, move around, stretch, or go ahead and reward myself with a nice YouTube video. Some other content creators like Ali Abdaal have sworn by a quest log system where you basically manually type in and log the focus time that you did and write down in a kind of a journal reflective mode, like what you did and how it was and how focused you were and maybe like the environment that you did it in. I've tried this method, but I find it's not quite as satisfying without being able to see very quickly an accumulated overview of all of the time that you've put towards a specific task. And that's the great thing about Toggl. You can easily see stats about what you spent your time doing on this very day or a week later or the whole month accumulated. And if you have the pro version, you can see actual time in your Google Calendar that you're tracking, which basically fills up your calendar with blocks of these focused times. And it just looks so satisfying because it's no bullshit. It's pure evidence of what you actually spent your day doing. There's some people who say they struggle to remember to actually start tracking their time. And I've never really struggled with this personally. But if you do have this, Toggl makes everything super easy for you because you can easily assign a keyboard shortcut to very quickly start tracking time. And you can see the menu bar ticking away to keep track of how close you are to the end of your focus sessions. And also, if you completely forget to do any tracking, you just go into the calendar option within Toggl and it will track exactly what you were doing on your computer. And then you can very easily press copy that as a time block, and it'll copy that as a time block of tracked time that you spend doing something focused. If you're a bit OCD like me, here's a little aesthetic tip. Install an app called Timery on your Mac for some pretty cool looking stats at a glance. It's just a free widget that you can put on your Mac or on your sidebar, and it just makes starting timers really easy. And if you want to just quickly know, hey, how many hours did I work today on said tasks, you can just quickly click on it and see all of your info at a glance. Where's your phone right now? Are you holding it? Well, keep doing that for now until the end of this video at least. But if you're on your computer and it's by your side with its glaring mirrored sheen facing up, tempting you into the wonders that social media has to offer, then you should flip it over. It seems so simple, but having your phone away from you or turned upside down has a massive impact on your desire to reach for it when that boredom starts to kick in within the particular task that you're doing. I personally either keep my phone facing down on my desk or right behind me on my shelves so that I can't be reminded of its existence during my focused session. I've also extended the benefits of this method to help with my sleeping routine by charging my phone in a completely separate room that isn't my bedroom. I haven't used my phone in my bed at night for more than like a year now, and there's no way I'm gonna go back now because of the benefits I've experienced. Being able to fall asleep quicker, having more time to read from my Kindle, and just feeling a sense of being in control with the temptations that social media used to give me at night when I was lying in bed trying to sleep. And I thought that looking at more cat Instagram images would help me sleep. This habit will build to a point where it'll feel weird having your phone on your desk. It'll feel almost like something's out of place on your desk until you spot that your phone is there with its shininess, glistening, and then you instinctively just remove it. The whole realm of focus and productivity is about control ultimately, and it's like a muscle you can build. It's going to be really hard first to resist the temptation to not check your phone, but try putting it away from your desk for 10 minutes, and then you can pick it up again to check it for a couple of minutes, and then build that up so that you have your phone completely away from your desk for 20 minutes, and then on until you can easily do this for 45 minutes of dedicated focus time with ease. There's just no point with going full on with trying to change your habit in such a drastic way if it's a real struggle for you, because you're only going to bounce back to your old ways once you have a particularly stressful day or a particularly stressful project that you have to make. So phone face down or away from your desk, and then get back to your productivity after this video, because you need to learn how to curate your feed. Social media feeds you what you give it, and the algorithms are only as good as the info that you're providing through the type of consumption that you're doing. So if you're getting funny cat videos all the time or those sexy booty babes, it's because the algorithms know that you like that stuff. I mean, I like sexy booty babes too, but I want to choose when to look at the sexy booty babes, not having one pop up when I'm just scrolling through to consume content that is actually useful to me. In order to retrain these algorithms, you're going to need to purposefully engage in content so your discover pages will improve with things you actually care about. On YouTube, you can help the algorithm by choosing the not interested button or the don't recommend channel one on your browsing page. I do this all the time when a video pops up that has either nothing to do with my interests or is just super political or particularly upsetting with the topic, and seeing this on my feed like triggers my anxieties in a way that is hard for me to shake off for the next few hours. I'm not saying you can't ever look at content like this, but you should be telling the algorithms that the majority of the things you want to consume are in fact beneficial to your knowledge or needs to want to relax and unwind versus triggering things that you don't want to be triggered. I did this method recently with my Twitter feed, and now about 80% of the content that I get is from fellow video editors sharing their advice and wisdom as freelance creatives. On apps like Instagram, if there's people you follow who don't post anything particularly inspiring or interesting, remove them. If you're really curious about their lives, you can always type in their name and then go on their profile versus being fed another boring post from them that may trigger, jealousy or negative emotions in you. This goes for things like political and news content. You can still consume this stuff every once in a while, but it should be done consciously via you having to type in to search for that specific thing in a search box. If the feed's going to easily shift around your moods, it's going to affect the next focus sessions that you're about to do. It's going to leave residual energy in you, making it harder to have an open mind that's going to come up with better ideas for your creativity. If you're really concerned about going ahead and hitting the unfollow button on someone, then at least mute their posts and stories on Instagram. They'll never know you've done this. And if they do, they're probably a stalker anyway, and I've just potentially saved your life. You're welcome. And finally, unappealing visuals on a phone. Smartphones are way too sexy and sleek nowadays, so much so that you just want to pick them up all the time and just want to stroke them and slide your finger on them and oh look, oh now I've just unlocked it and oh that's the Instagram icon. Let's have a little scroll on there. The best cure for all of this would for us to all just go back to our brick massive Nokia phones, but let's be honest, no one's going to be convinced to do that. And deleting an app can cause too much friction for all the good productivity apps we actually want to be using. So alongside using the app one sec, you should change your phone screen so there's no social media apps tempting you in as soon as your phone is unlocked. Here's my current phone home screen, which is a mixture of productivity apps like Todoist and Notion, but I also have a folder called Spare Minutes, which prompts me to use my time effectively, or at least to try to, when I open my phone with either a Kindle book or some Hungarian practice, especially if I'm like in a line at the post office or on a bus journey that's only going to be a few minutes. Scrolling on Instagram for 3 minutes seems more obvious, but reading a Kindle book for a few minutes would be way more better for me. And even with a customized homepage like this, if you really wanted to, you can just swipe right and oh look, oh these are all my social media apps. Oh, Instagram. Oh, I've got to wait for the stupid animation on the 1 second app. Nah, I'm just going to do right and I can't be bothered with that. One new thing I've been trying lately on my phone is having the display turn to grayscale, which effectively turns my entire phone black and white. So everything just looks a lot less appealing to use. I still haven't committed to having this on 24/7, but so far I do get why a lot of people like it. Instagram is way more boring without all of the colors from people's photos and videos. Cool thing is that you can set this up as a shortcut to toggle on and off at the tap of a button, so it's a super easy thing to actively use if you like the vibe of it and want to be using it more on a daily basis. It'd actually be amazing if OneSec could add this as an option to turn on automatically for when my intention for using an app is something like browsing, so that it'll actually make me want to browse way less, so I can eventually get off that social media app way quicker. But hopefully they'll add something like this in a future update. There are more extreme and pretty cool pieces of tech like distraction-free phones. But again, these things, as cool as the concept sounds, they appear to be way more impractical than they would be helpful. You know, not being able to carry something around with you that has a decent camera or Spotify, for instance. Therefore, I still think it's better to make your normal smartphone a little more dumb, and then let your own new habits take over any discipline that is required for you to not waste time on social media. That way you can replace these with better habits that are contained on the phone itself in apps like Kindle, Audible, or Duolingo, or with habits that require your phone to stay in your pocket to fully be immersed in them in a way that no kind of technology could ever replace. Experiment with these tips, take what works, remove what doesn't. These things have worked for me so far, and in the long run, I might realize that they just end up losing their novelty and don't help me like they used to. If that happens, I'll just keep experimenting to find solutions that best match where I'm at in life at that particular time. You should check out this video on bad habits that are destroying your creativity, because there's probably a bunch that you're guilty of that can be improved with some pretty simple mindset fixes that I talk about in the video. Hit that subscribe button, because if you do, I'm going to lend you my old antique telephone so we can stay in touch all night. See you in the next one.